Hey everyone, welcome back to the bench. And in this basic skills video, I thought we'd cover shepherd's crook clasps. Such a tongue twister to say. I've been trying to say it all morning. Shepherd's crook clasps. So it's basically a follow-on from the eye loop. It's a perfect thing to learn next. And also, I know it's not really pendant making or it's weaving or wrapping, but it's definitely a skill that you need because at some point you're going to need to put your pendant onto something like a necklace or something like that. And you might need to make a clasp on the spot for someone really quickly. These things take less than 5 minutes to make. They're super easy to do. So before we move on, just want to remind you, please like and subscribe if you're really enjoying these. And if you're really loving these free workshops of mine, maybe come on over to Patreon and support me there. And so I can keep making more of these. Right then, should we crack on and let's see how to make a shepherd's crook clasp. So what is a shepherd's crook clasp? I hear you say. Well, here's one. Exactly what it says on the tin. It's a shepherd's crook. Literally. And it's a clasp. There you go. Just a basic eye loop at the other end. And then you just join them together like so. This is like a perfect progression. Once you've made eye loops, it's worth moving on to this because then you're ready for necklaces and bracelets and stuff like that. So the reason I thought I'd teach you is that at some point you're going to need to make a necklace for your pendants. I know I concentrate mainly on pendants, but at some point you need to step out of that and you will need to do this. And this is handy. You're at a show. You need to fix someone's chain. It's just a handy technique, this is, to make a shepherd's crook clasp. Here we go. I'll show it to you. It's a bit more dainty on this one. You can see it on some chain here. Nice, simple. Okay, simple idea. Put it together. There we go. Right then. Let's move on. Have a quick talk about tools and let me show you how to make one of these. Right, before we move on, let's have our usual talk. So what tools will I be using today? So I'm going to be using bell pliers, 2 different sizes here, quite a small one and some large ones. Now, if you don't have a pair of bell pliers, this is where you can use your round nose pliers. Totally fine here. Nothing wrong with using round nose pliers, but I will be using bell pliers. Flush cutters. Now I've got my heavy duty flush cutters out because we're using slightly thicker wire gauge today. Round nose, flat nose, always have them at my side at all times. Metal ruler, and we will be using a chasing hammer and a hammering block today. So you will need the pair of those. They're quite actually important for this, so that's a must have. So if you haven't got them yet, go out and buy yourself a chasing hammer and a hammering block. Now, not needed, but a rubber hammer does come in handy. So if you're going out to buy the chasing hammer and a hammering block, go buy yourself a rubber hammer at the same time. They come in handy. And now wire gauge today, we shall be using quite thicker wire. So 1.25 mil, which is 16 gauge. We want a nice heavy wire. And sometimes I will use a thicker gauge as well when doing this. Right then, let's see how to make a shepherd's crook clasp. Right, let's get started, shall we? So we can work off the roll of wire today. We don't need to trim anything off. So I'm just going to take my wire here and between finger and thumb. I'm just going to start straightening out here. Now, if you had a pair of nylon pliers, I recommend you could run them down there and help straighten your wire out. Now, I would show you that, but the reason being is my nylon pliers decided to take a dive off the back of my bench right down behind absolutely everything, and for me to get them back out is a bit of a pain in the arse. I need to get them back out so I can show you them. Yeah, so that's why I can't show you what's going on with nylon pliers, but we will do soon. Anyway, fingers and thumbs, back to those. So start running that down your wire like so, and then we're going to get our flush cutters. And as you notice here, I'm using my heavy duty flush cutters. I'm going to flush cut the end of my wire, making sure a nice right angle. There's no point there or anything at all. So yeah, so obviously we're using heavy gauge wires here, so be careful with what flush cutters you use. I'm obviously anything above 1 mil, I go over to my heavy duty cutters just to be safe. So we flush cut that end there, nice and clean. Take your chain nose pliers, and then like if you were doing a spiral, turn over until it kind of meets like so. Now how big you make this is up to you. I'm just going for something quite tiny, just like if I was going for a spiral like so. So let's get our hammer and our hammering block now. Hammering block. Grab the hammer. Now, I want you to start hammering just on the outside of the loop there. And the reason for doing this is I like to do this as I go along. It just helps. And the other reason is we want to work hard on this. Because it's going to be used. You want that little. You don't want it soft. You just want it that little bit harder. Plus, a little bit of flat wire gives a little bit of a flash when polished. So a little bit of aesthetics to it. So not too much. You're not looking to hammer this to death. And you notice as I come down with a hammer, I push it out like that. That helps spread the wire. Okay, that's enough. Nothing too heavy. If it's opened up a little bit, maybe close it back up again. Excellent. Right, next part, let's grab our bell pliers. Right, the bell pliers I shall be using for this, they're a beadsmith set, and that's an 8mm and a 6mm. I'm going to be using the 6mm. Now, how big this first loop is up to you. You kind of have to make a few. Then you can see which sizes that you like to use and stuff like that. So if you have not got, if you haven't got a pair of bell pliers and you're using your round nose pliers, I recommend you do this next part right at the base here, the widest part of your round nose pliers. But I'm going to, like I say, use bell pliers. So what I'm looking to do is bend round this one here. So I'm going to place my little loop I've made in, so it's nice and tucked up. There, you can see that there in focus. There we go. Nice and tucked up against the edge, and then taking the wire, I'm just going to bend all the way round until I meet the loop the other side. Take that out. There you go. One shepherd's crook. You can really see it there as a shepherd's crook. The old school shepherd's crook. So again, back to the hammer and block. Now, I just want you to hammer this outside edge here. Okay, you're not looking to hammer the whole thing. Now the reason we're hammering obviously is we're work hardening, and this is the part of the clasp here that will, I suppose, get the most friction. It will move the most, because as you're placing something in and out, you can see when this will be clasped up that is where the most stress will happen on this. So that's why we hammer it and we work harden it. And again, for aesthetics, it brings a nice flash. So just going to go around the top bit. As you can see, this is opened up, so again, just pop it back on your pliers. Close it back up again. Notice I'm being gentle, I'm not smashing the hell out of it. There we go. I'm pretty pleased with that. I'm pretty pleased. That looks pretty good. It's got a nice flash on it. There you go, it's catching the light. That's nice. So now we need to do is we need to now put a little loop at this end, which is basically going to be like an eye loop of sorts. But before we do that, we want to know how much wire it takes to create the loop. So this is where I recommend you find a dummy piece of wire. Just like I showed you in the eye loop video, find yourself a dummy piece of wire. Make sure, obviously, we are flush cut at one end. This isn't flush cut. And then using either your round nose pliers, or I'm going to use a pair of bell pliers, and these are very, very small here. I do believe, let me have a quick measure, 3mm. So I'm going to be using the 3mm side of these, and I'm going to just take that dummy piece of wire as close to the same size as you're using. Run my finger down, like I showed you in the eye loop. I'm just going to roll it over until I make a letter P. Like so. Now, I don't actually want to make an eye loop. What I want to do, again, like I showed you in the previous video, is I want to find out how much wire it takes to make that circle there. So we're going to take our flush cutters and we're just going to trim it off at the neck, like so. And then using your chain nose and flat nose, I want you to flatten it out. And where are my chain nose when I need them? No, I've put them down. Oh, there they are. go. It doesn't take a minute just to flatten this out. It's a bit of precision here, making sure we've got the best measurements. There we go. Then grabbing your ruler, we measure. So 13 mil, pretty good, 13 mil. So I know, where's my shepherd's crook clasp? There we go. So I now need to measure. Let's get my flush cutters. So I'm going to measure down, as you can see, from the first little loop down, 13 mil. That piece of wire. Again, making sure you flush cut. Then taking your bell pliers or your round nose pliers, you now need to roll that down that direction towards the loop, but from obviously the opposite side. So I'm just going to place that, run my finger down. I can't feel anything, so I'm not going to get a straight pat. Oh, I'm going to keep rolling over until I meet up. There we go. Job done. That's one shepherd's crook made. Simple, isn't it, really? It's just eye loops again, just different shapes. Now, what you could do, which I have done on other pieces, like you will see here, is that you could possibly, let me just take that off. You could turn that eye loop on the side. It all depends on your necklace, how it's all functioning. But there you go. That's the basic shepherd's crook. Now, what we need to do is we now need to know how to make the opposite end, the female end, I suppose you could say. So yeah, quite simple. Let's crack on. So for the second part of the shepherd's clasp, we're going to work off the roll again. Same size wire. Run your fingers down. Straighten it out. Now, I'm going to be using the 6mm bell on the bell pliers. Now, I find it it just works well aesthetic wise that your female side of this, try and keep it the same size as that initial loop. It doesn't have to be, I just like it. It just looks good. So I'm going to stick with the same size there. So that would be the 6mm size bell. So before I go any further, I've just noticed I need to flush cut, as you can see there. Dirty great point. Great habit to get into here. Flush cut in, nice right angle. Cool. And then taking my bell pliers, I'm going to bend round the 6mm size bell all the way until I meet to the end. And basically what I'm doing here is I'm creating a large eye loop, exactly what I showed you in the last video. Now you can see why making a shepherd's crook clasp is a perfect follow-on after making eye loops. So anyway, we're going to bend the wire around. We need to put the kink in there like the eye loop. So we're taking our chain nose pliers, placing it in down by the neck where the wire meet loops. Oh, there we go, a bit of a focus there. And I'm just going to kink it until we create a lollipop, like so. Perfect. Now we need to grab our hammer and block. And again, we're going to do a hammer. But again, I'm only looking to hammer this top half here. I'm not looking to hammer the whole thing. There we go. Again, I'm not hitting it really hard, and I'm pushing down and spreading it. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. As you can see, it's decided to open up a little bit. This is where go grab your bell pliers and close it back up again. Just placing those in and closing back up. Perfect. So again, we need to make a small loop down here, so that's where our chain or something would connect to. Now, we already know the size, don't we? Because we just did it beforehand. So again, taking that measurement that you did beforehand with that dummy loop that you made, which if I remember rightly was 13 mil. Let's measure down and cut that wire to 13 mil. Now what have I done with my heavy G's? There they are. Again, I'm going to measure from the loop down. Perfect. Then taking the bell pliers, like the smaller ones, or your round nose pliers, whatever you're using, run my finger down. Now I'm going to make this loop the opposite direction. Okay, roll it all the way down. As you can see, that's not too bad. It's sat there, but we need to now centralize that loop to this, exactly like an eye loop. See how important the eye loop skill is. Chain nose. I'm just going to kink it. There we go. Job done. That looks great. Let's go up to close-up cam and have a look at that. There you go. You can see how I've turned the eye loop on its side. It doesn't have to be that way around. It can be the same way around as this one. And you get basically a figure of 8. Here we go. Let's bring the other piece in. There you go. One shepherd's crook clasp. Hook them together. There you go. Simple idea. It's a great follow-on from the eye loop. Practice those eye loops and then move on to a shepherd's crook clasp. There you go, everybody. Shepherd's crook clasps. Very simple. Perfect follow-on from the eye loop. Perfect that eye loop, and then you're going to find those really easy to do. And I think you do need to know this, and because it's important. It's going to come up at some point. You're going to make a cuff, you're going to make a necklace, you're going to make something that's not a pendant, and you're going to need it. The reason I thought about covering it is that I actually was looking at Facebook last week, and an amazing piece turned up, a beautiful cuff, and they'd used it at the back there to join it together. And I thought, need to show the students that one, because even when you get into the professional levels of wire wrapping, you're still using a shepherd's crook clasp. Very simple idea. Nice one, people. It's been good fun teaching you this one. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. I do believe the next one's going to be cages. And what I'm going to do over after that is I've realised I've actually done 3 or 4 episodes in a row that actually could be made into something. So yeah, I thought we'd take the idea of the eye loops, shepherd crook clasp. I can't say that. I'm really having trouble saying that. The shepherd's crook clasp and cages, and we're going to put them together as a bracelet or a necklace on that. Anyway, please join me in the next basic skills video with cages, and I look forward to see you there. Take care. It's been good fun. Bye-bye. To support this channel and help me keep making more videos, please come on over to join my Patreon, where you'll get early access to all my videos, free downloads of my books and tutorials, and entries into my giveaways and more.